Dear friends, we gather this afternoon to remember and to celebrate the life of one who filled our world with his goodness, his kindness, his gentle presence, and his loving example. In humility and in gratitude, we turn to the wisdom of our tradition for comfort, for guidance, and for understanding. Throughout the centuries, when our people were in need or in distress, they asked, Esa inai el haharim, me'ayin yavo ezri. I lift my eyes to the mountain. From where comes my help? My help comes from Adonai, the creator of heaven and of earth. Esa inai el haharim, me'ayin yavo ezri. Esa inai el haharim, me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz. I lift up my eyes unto the mountains. From where will my help come? I lift up my eyes unto the mountains. From where will my help come?
I invite you now to please join me in the recitation of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Continue now with a modern meditation. After a while, you learn the subtle difference between holding a hand and chaining a soul. And you learn that love doesn't mean leaning, and that company doesn't always mean security. And you learn that kisses aren't contracts, and presents aren't promises. And you begin to accept your defeats with your head up and your eyes straight ahead, with the grace of a woman or a man, not the grief of a child. And you learn to build all your roads on today because tomorrow's ground is too uncertain for plans, and futures have a way of falling down in mid-flight. After a while, you learn that even sunshine burns if you bask too much. So you plant your own garden, you decorate your own soul, instead of waiting for someone to bring you flowers. And you learn that you really can endure, that you really are strong, and that you really have worth. And you learn, and you learn. With every goodbye, you learn. This week, we begin a new volume of the Torah's 5 books, the Book of Numbers. In many respects, it feels fitting as Devorah and Stephen take the first tender steps in moving through one chapter and into another. The Book of Numbers begins with a lot of details about the roles of the tribal factions, particularly of the Levite tribe. You see, there were tribes within even that tribe, and each had a specific role in taking care of the great tabernacle in the desert. Some were tasked with building up and taking down the structure. Others were responsible for the preparing of the vessels, the utensils, the lavers that were used in the holy rituals. Every member of the tribe had a job, had a role that was necessary for the work to get done. And in life, we each have a role that no one else can do, no one else except us. And not just the work in our lives professionally, but in our personal lives too. We each have a role, a gift to give. Today, we fondly remember one of those gift givers, our friend and cherished member and part of our family, Jerry Ross. Jerry played a very important role in the lives of all he touched. He quietly supported us in our endeavors. He acted like a mensch. He did the right thing. He was devoted to family, devoted to faith, and to his chosen vocation. Today, we fondly remember him, and his son, Stephen, would like to share some words as we continue reminding ourselves of how much his life was a blessing.
One of my responsibilities at work is I interview students that are looking for full-time jobs, prospective hires. And every once in a while when I'm doing the interview, I think, well, how would I perform if I was the one being interviewed? How would I answer the questions? And one of the questions that I know precisely how I would answer is, name somebody you admire and why. That one, of course, is my father. He has a number of qualities I admired. My dad was very knowledgeable. He knew a lot about a lot of stuff. I remember a long time ago, my cousin Sandy once said, some people know a lot about a few things. Other people know a little bit about a lot of stuff. Your dad knows a lot about everything. And that was really true. He really did. And he was always there to converse with you, always in a warm and inviting way, never authoritarian or argumentative. He just loved to talk, and he could talk about anything. My dad was very even-natured. I never saw him get upset, and really never saw him get angry, except at me, and that was only for a few times. Not very often, really. There was always something stupid that I did if I ever saw him get angry. I followed in my dad's footsteps career-wise. He was a pharmacist. That followed from his career in the Army as a medic. But he was very, very big in deep into science, physics. He could fix anything. He was a self-taught engineer. And so I could say my career in engineering really traces back to the projects, the father-son projects that we did together, fixing cars, lawnmowers. We built a darkroom together, a model train set. So I really got my appreciation for that sort of thing from my father. He was something that everybody could count on. He was always there for me and my brother, nieces and nephews, his sisters, co-workers, etc., neighbors. He had this collection in the basement of parts for water heaters, ones that didn't fit our water heater, other people's water heaters, because, and one time I asked, he was buying a new part for a water, it didn't fit our water heater. I said, well, why'd you do that? Well, Mr. So-and-so's water heater broke, and I used my last one on his, so in case he forgets to buy one, I'll have one the next time he needs it. That's the kind of person he was. Well, if this was a real interview, I'd have to be cut off now, so I'll give you my final thoughts. Well, everybody that touched my dad, that came near my dad, said how nice he was, how kind he was. Those terms may seem a little generic, but really they're apropos, they're fitting for my dad. All the things that I mentioned, his conversation, his demeanor, his willingness to help, all of those things and more. He always had a great smile. He always had a kind thing to say. I think he was really a ray of sunshine for anybody that came near him. Thank you.
Jerry Ross, son of Sam and Anna, was born and raised in Seneca Falls, upstate New York, with his sisters Sarah and Dorothy, both of blessed memory. But we have members of their family here today, sharing their legacy, carrying that on. Jerry's dad worked in the scrap metal business, and he helped him on occasion, but he also knew that his life would take a different vocational path. Jerry graduated from Alfred University with a degree of specialty in air conditioning and refrigeration, but ultimately pursued a career in medicine after the war. Jerry was drafted into World War II, and in a case of serendipity, found his way to being a medic. Did I get it right? I'm sorry, Korea. And he found his way into being a medic. I think the story was that on the bus when they were asking who was interested in different jobs, he kept going to the back of the bus not interested until medic came up. He thankfully did not see combat and returned with an interest in pursuing pharmacology. And since his sister Sarah was settled in Cleveland, Jerry and his parents found their way to Northeast Ohio. Jerry and Devorah were set up on a blind date in 1960, and there was instant chemistry. Devorah remembers the man that night who would become her husband. He was handsome, intelligent, kind, and Devorah remembers specifically that he was wearing a dark burgundy jacket with the window panes. They were married 2 years later. They would continue a life of loving partnership and brought 2 wonderful boys into the world, Richard and Stephen. Richard's bout with leukemia and his death far too soon in his early teen years challenged the family in what was an unimaginable circumstance for any parent. And through loving connection and support, they all made it through. Perhaps it was Devorah and Jerry's inextricable bond of love with each other. Or perhaps it was Stephen's courageous gesture to become a bone marrow donor to his brother, which ultimately would not be able to reverse the toll that the disease took on Richard. Whatever it was, they all summoned the strength. They drew closer. They found comfort in their faith. They held each other up. And that's what we do. We are pieces of a puzzle. And even when we lose a precious part of our lives, we find paths to healing. Today, Stephen and Devorah can still recall with joy that it strengthened their family. Those summertime trips together, particularly that 3-week road trip out to California, the constant support each brought to each other's interests. Devora, a musician and piano teacher, recalled how much Jerry was a help any time she would host a recital, willingly setting up chairs supporting her students without complaint. And Jerry had his own interests too. He liked gardening. In fact, they were a great team, you two, gardening in partnership. He loved reading, and he had a lifelong hobby of photography. Stephen noted that his first big purchase as a kid was a camera. And that really brought him great contentment. He even set up a dark room in the house, and Stephen picked up the interest through his dad. Jerry enjoyed being a pharmacist and manager and worked in a number of stores and institutions, including Standard Drug, Richmond Heights Hospital, the Community Health Foundation, which became Kaiser, and Rite Aid. He liked helping people and doing his part to heal the world. Jerry loved learning, and later on in his life, when he was about 60 years old, he even began to learn Hebrew with Esther Rubin at Fairmount Temple. And while his Hebrew skills would not necessarily take him to fluency if he went to Israel, it certainly gave him a sense of great fellowship and connection at Fairmount Temple. Stephen had shared how he loved even just putting the binders together for everybody in the class, keeping everybody organized. And he filled up the lives of his dear ones. Lynn, his daughter-in-law, referenced his beautiful smile, his sweetness, his love and gentleness, his dry sense of humor, his incredible intelligence, the visits to see him at Rite Aid, and the fact that you could ask him any medical question you had. He'd be there. His grandson Joe remembers the memories of playing with model trains, going out to dinners, cheering on the Cavs at their home games. And while his granddaughter Anna is overseas right now in Senegal, she carries her grandpa Jerry with her today in spirit and in love. Devore, I always remember seeing you and Jerry together any time at the temple, and the two of you were just a welcome sight, always. Just supportive, lovely people who not only supported the temple, but supported its clergy. The kind of tried and true temple members who really believed in the mission of our temple, believed in belonging to a community, supporting one, supporting the life of the people of Israel. In your very understated ways, both of you have contributed to that. And that is what it's been about for thousands of years in Jewish life, is wonderful, gentle, beautiful folks who are continuing the mission of Judaism every day. That was Jerry. Not a lot of fanfare, but certainly a lot of love and a lot of support, and he filled us with lots of blessing. He was a piece of the puzzle. He brought that special piece to you, Devora and Stephen, to Anna and Joe, to the complete family. So I share these words, this poem that reminded me after our meeting, after we talked about Jerry, reminded me of him and the gifts that he brings. Each lifetime is the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. For some, there are more pieces. For others, the puzzle is more difficult to assemble. Some seem to be born with nearly a completed puzzle. And so it goes, souls going this way and that, trying to assemble the myriad parts. But know this, no one has within themselves all the pieces to their puzzle. Like before the days when they used to seal jigsaw puzzles in cellophane, ensuring that all the pieces were there. Everyone carries with them at least one and probably many, pieces to someone else's puzzle. Sometimes they know it, sometimes they don't. And when you present that piece, which may be worthless to you, when you present it to another, whether you know it or not, whether they know it or not, you are a messenger from the Most High. Zichrono livracha. May Jerry's memory, may it always be a blessing. And let us say, Amen. Let us pause for a moment as we consider the gifts and the piece of the puzzle that Jerry brought to your lives. Now, if you are able, we invite you to please rise for the memorial prayer, El Maleh Rachamim.
As Jerry cared so devotedly for us, we now pray that God will care for him with the devotion and the compassion and the completeness that he so richly deserves. El Maleh Rachamim Shochen B'Maromi Ametzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina Im Kedoshim U'Tehorim Ki Zorakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Hayakar Shalanu Ben Shalom Vechana Shalach Leolamo Bal Rachamim Yastireu B'Seit Knafav Leolarim Et nishmato Adonai unachalato ve'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo ve'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Jerry Ross, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
We take this moment to recognize the legacy that Jerry leaves behind, his wife, Devorah, his son, Stephen and Lynn, his grandchildren, Joseph and Anna, and his extended family that is inextricably connected to his sisters of loving memory, Sarah and Dorothy. As we turn to the conclusion of our service, the family We'd like to thank you for being here, first of all. Next, we will be moving forward to a graveside burial at Mayfield Cemetery. And following the burial, we will go to Anshe Chesed Fairmount Temple, and the family will be sitting until 6 p.m. tonight. Tomorrow, Monday, the family will be receiving at the residence 27090 Cedar Road. That's at Stone Gardens, correct? And they will be sitting from 2 to 4 and from 6:30 to 8:30. If you wish to make a contribution in Jerry's honor, you can do so to the Richard Ross Educational Fund, Care Fairmount Temple, or the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.